Halo Primordium. Now this is a good sequel to Krypton. It goes deeper into the mythology of Halo, and it does have a bit of a darker, grim tone than the previous book does. But my problem with this book is the main character in this, Chakas. Now for those of you who haven't read Krypton, Chakas is one of the humans who accompanies Bornstella, the rebellious Forerunner, in the first book. My problem, like I said before, is just that, well, Chakas, he's just not a very interesting character. You don't really, at least in my opinion, you don't really care about what he has to say, what his views are, what his thoughts are. You just don't really have a lot of interest in this, and I think that's a shame. Now, don't get me wrong. No, I'm not going to spoil anything, but what Chakas eventually becomes, those who have read the book, those who have read this book will know exactly what I mean. But the thing that Chakas eventually becomes, I think that's intriguing, and how it leads up to the story, of the Halo games. That's great. I think that is intriguing. But as he is right now in this book, as a person, he's just not an interesting character. I'm sorry, that's just how I feel, but I really found it. It took a lot of effort to really read through some of Chakas' segments, because the thing in this book that I think is the most interesting for me is the Lord of Admirals. Now, the Lord of Admirals, if you've played Halo 4 and you've gone through the terminals, the Lord of Admirals is in there, basically, so you know who he is. Now, the Lord of Admirals is a far more interesting character than Chakas ever was, because I always look forward to all of his segments than I did with Chakas's. Now, Riser, he does turn up in this book, but not about halfway through. So you don't really get that chemistry between Chakas and Riser until about halfway in. So, when you, for the first half, you're just more or less left with just Chakas and how he deals with some of the other people around him. And like I said, he's just not a very interesting character. I know it's. But when you get to the Lord of Admirals segments, that's when the story for me really picks up, because the Lord of Admirals is just such an interesting character. It's so interesting to find out his relationship with the Didact, how those two dealt with each other. And those parts are interesting. Now, the other interesting part about this book is the Timeless One. Now again, I'm not going to spoil anything, but the Timeless One made what was a major part of the story of Krypton, and it plays an even bigger part in this story as well. Now, the revelation that the Timeless One gives at the very end of the story, that leaves you looking forward to Silentium even more than you would anyway. So, because of the revelation of the Timeless One, I am so looking forward to reading Silentium. But final thoughts on Halo Primordium. Now, like I said before, this book is a good sequel. It's still got an interesting story. It's just, the only problem with this is that it's the main character in this, Chakas. I found it really hard to care what happened to Chakas. That's just my opinion. But I would still recommend this book, because it's a good addition to the Forerunner saga, and it's a good addition to the Halo story in general. So, like I said, yeah, if you're a fan of Halo, I definitely recommend it. Thanks very much for watching. I'll see you next time.